Okay, so here I'm going to show you how to use the slicing software with to take a model that you created in Onshape and prepare it for the 3D printer. So what we're going to do is you can right click here on your part studio, or you could right click on the part and you want to choose export. So you can do it there, or you can do it down here. Okay, and then you can name it. You want to make sure that the type of model selected is STL. Selected the format, I don't know if it matters, but we'll select binary, the units to be millimeter, and then we'll press OK, and it's download the file. And the next thing we're going to do, is we're going to open up this software called PrusaSlicer, now that we've downloaded our file. When you first open it up, this window will pop up, the configuration wizard. So you want to click Next. In here, this one might be selected as a default and maybe nothing selected. You want to make sure that everything is unselected except the one that says original i3 MK3 Mark III and the 0.4 millimeter nozzle. This is the one we want selected. Okay, then we press finish, and then you should see some settings here. This one here, it might default to 0.05. We don't want to use anything below 0.1, really 0.15. This is pretty high quality. There's a trade-off. Thin layers takes longer to print. Thicker layers goes faster with maybe slightly less quality. For most stuff, it's fine though. So I usually go in the 0.2 to 0.3 range depending on what I'm attempting. Okay, so we would select our layer height for our print. Make sure we've got PLA selected here, and then that it says original Prusa i3 Mark III there. Okay, so now you can add your part. So we downloaded this one right here today, and this part comes in here. And so now we have some tools. So first of all, we can kind of move it around. If we want to resize it, we can scale it. There's this tool here to scale it. Generally, if you want to change the scale of something, I recommend doing it in Onshape software. So you can do Control-Z or the back arrow to undo. We can also rotate the part like this. And we can rotate it like in multiple different directions and so on. There's a tool to split a part. So if we want to split it into two pieces, we can cut it in half. We can, let's see, and then there's tools just to move around and stuff. But probably the one you'll use the most is this one to place on a face. So you select that tool, make sure it's selected, place on face, and then you can lay it flat on a surface. And so you'll do this to kind of figure out what's the best way to orient this for a good print. And for this object, it's probably like this. Now I can choose a lot of faces, and we'll have more or less success in printing. Like if I put it right here, there's not much surface area in contact with the print bed, so it might not print very well there. Same thing if I selected one of these things. You wouldn't want to print it this way or this way. If you print it this way, you have a big overhang right there. So this would be the way to print it like this. You have the most surface area and the least overhangs. Okay? We have a lot of settings for the printer that we can change. We want to avoid changing these for the most part. If we're having a really difficult print, we can work with those, but for the most part, we want to leave those alone. Then when we're ready, we can click right here or right here to slice the model. Okay? And so we're going to click Slice Now. And then we see our model right here. Okay? Then we have some information. So we can see down here how many grams of filament it's going to use. We can see here the amount of time it's going to take. So this one takes 1 hour and 45 minutes. And you can also see kind of step by step how it's going to execute the print. Okay, and so this can be useful to make sure that nothing weird's going on, like things floating in the air or whatever. And then at this point, we click to export to the SD card. So the laptop actually has an SD card reader in the side of it. You can just slide it right into the laptop. If you can find it, it's on the right side. And then you would click Export G-code, and you would select that SD card. Now, one thing that's really important in this part, when you're naming it, you want to name it lowercase s student dot G-code, just like that, and you'll overwrite the existing file. And the reason we do this is because if we all name the file our own name each time, then we get a whole bunch of files on the disk, and it can get difficult to figure out which one's yours. And so it's really important that you just name it student.gcode each time. You click Save, you click Replace, and then you can just right-click that here, or click right here to safely eject. It says Suggest successfully unmounted. I take it out, and I can go start the print. Okay? Now let's say I was unhappy with one of the settings, I want to go back. I can press this little box here to come back to the 3D view and to make changes. I will have to, if I do any changes, I will have to reslice the model. Okay? So from here also, if I want to delete it, I can press this, I can press the delete button, I can add additional parts. If this object was made of a bunch of combined parts, I can split them by pressing this button, and so on. So there's lots of stuff you can do with it. I've shown you kind of some of the basic features here to get you started.